Hey, what's up YouTube? The last couple of weeks I've been busy with let's say, a hub for the smart homes. So let's start at the beginning. I talked about modularity and I talked about everything being modular at your house, all the connected devices that have all these functionalities, and what happens when you start to combine them. So my first step in starting this creativity with these devices is showing that these devices can be connected to each other. That's what I'm doing here with this thing. Basically, this is a hub that sits either on your living room table or you can take it with you. It's supposed to be a compass that shows you where your devices, where your connected devices are in your house. So mind you, this is still a mock-up prototype, so it doesn't function properly, but it still gives you an idea of like how these LEDs are going to work and how it might hold and things like that. So to build this thing, I actually went through this process of sketching and early prototyping where I used cardboard and then moved from foam to 3D printing and programming with some LEDs and Arduino inside. I started out with some low-cost cardboard and then moved on to foam board as the shape started evolving. Then I eventually moved into 3D printing because that stuff takes more time to do. So from the explorations, I learned that it should be fairly nice to hold in your hand because you're still going to be moving around with it. I asked a couple of people to help me out, hold it, and see what size actually works well for a shape like this. And as I was playing with the cardboard, I noticed that I could swap around faceplates and basically change the functionality of the device. If you want to have it sit on your coffee table, you maybe want a different faceplate, a different sort of functionality, as opposed to when you're walking around with it or making combinations with functions. Then it was time to make a full-scale model out of foam, where I wanted to see how spherical it should be, how thick it should be, so that it holds nicely in your hand. And as I was exploring, I started to notice that it could be nice if you put it, if it had certain shapes, that you could put it in different angles on the surface that you're putting it onto. So if it's on a shelf, it's going to be sitting upright, whereas if it's sitting on a table, you might want it to be facing upwards. So the foam models helped me form an idea of how it should feel, what it should look like, what the dimensions are, but then I wanted to move a little further and make it functional so that I could get an idea of how the LEDs work. Now I wanted to make it really nice with wood, but that would beat the purpose because this is kind of a sketch of what the concept should be like, and it should communicate that it is a sketch. So I was going to go for a little bit more of a affordable and more sketchy look and went for 3D printing. So then I spent a little bit of time making a 3D model where I also integrated the module itself, gave them a little space inside of the model, and then I started printing it. The middle part, which has the modules integrated, also has the room for the Arduino, which basically is a mini computer that controls my LEDs, and then the top part has the LEDs itself. So as the 3D model was printing, I could work on the LEDs. It's fairly basic. I had an LED strip and a small Arduino. I tied them together, put a little bit of a capacitor in between to smooth out the peak currents, and a resistor to clean up the signal. For the LEDs, I used the WS2811 or NeoPixels. They're the somewhat old ones. They're really nice to program. And you can also control each LED individually through a little bit of basic programming. I soldered the LEDs, connected them into a circle, and then folded them into an octagonal shape. Turns out they didn't fit quite nicely into the model, so I had to do a little bit of a cleanup, but now they fit really properly. So for the LEDs, they shined really brightly right through the acrylic, and I wanted a bit more of a diffuse look, so I went for the sandblasted the acrylic for a bit, and then it came out really nicely as a frosted piece of acrylic, which diffused the LEDs. So within a short period of time, I went from the idea of showing connections at home to this simple mock-up that allows me to feel it, experience it, see how the LEDs function, and also get a better idea of where to move next to. This process shows how great it is to be working with your hands because it starts a different type of process in your head, because as you are doing stuff, you experience new things which you can try out immediately, like the shape. It wouldn't have turned out the way it is now if I hadn't built foam models or cardboard models and then went to 3D printing afterwards. it's great to have tools such as cardboard modeling and 3D printing, and also a workshop at hand, so that you can just try out these ideas and just experience them for real. So the concept is simple. It's a hub that sits on your coffee table, or you can hold it in your hand, and it shows you in what direction your connected devices are. The idea is that you can take it around and experience really that there are all of these connections around you that you can play around with, be creative with, and maybe make your home the place that you really want it to be, with all these new and connected devices. So this is a little bit of my design process of the last couple of weeks. I'm curious what you think of it, so let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you next time.
Ben je nu die filmpje maken?
Ja.
Yo. Ik ga er één keer.